When Christian Bale left a simple tip on the table, he expected nothing more than a polite nod. Instead, the waitress laughed in his face, loud, mocking, right in front of the whole restaurant. She thought it was a joke, an insult. The customers froze. The staff whispered. Everyone waited for Bale to snap, to put her in her place. But instead of getting angry, he did something that left the entire room speechless. And by the next morning, the whole world was talking about it. The restaurant was bustling, filled with the usual chatter of customers and clinking silverware. Christian Bale sat alone at a corner table, dressed in a simple black jacket and jeans. No flashy Hollywood energy, just a regular guy enjoying his meal. The waitress, Lena, had been serving tables all night, tired, irritated, and already fed up with entitled customers. So when she picked up Bale's receipt and saw the $20 tip, she laughed, loud, right in his face. Customers turned their heads. Her coworkers froze. Even the restaurant manager looked up from across the room. Bale? Didn't say a word. He just tilted his head, watching her. Lena scoffed, waving the receipt toward a coworker. Look at this! A guy worth what? $100 million? And this is what he leaves? A few nervous chuckles from other waiters. But the rest of the room? Dead silent. Bale leaned back in his chair, calmly sipping his drink. Then he looked straight at Lena. His voice? Calm, steady, sharp. Is there a problem? Lena smirked, crossing her arms. I mean, yeah, kinda. You Hollywood types throw money around like it's nothing. And this is what I get. Oof. A few gasps. A couple of customers whispered, eyes darting toward Bale. The energy in the room? Tense. The moment she finished speaking, she realized something. Bale wasn't mad. He wasn't embarrassed. He was just watching her, like he was letting her dig her own grave. Then, he finally spoke. Tell me something, Lena. She raised an eyebrow. How much do you think you deserved? The entire restaurant held its breath, because now, this wasn't about the tip anymore. This was about her, and what Bale said next would flip the entire conversation on its head. Lena froze for a second. The way Christian Bale looked at her, calm, unbothered, but sharp, made her stomach twist. He wasn't angry. He wasn't embarrassed. He was challenging her. The restaurant was dead silent, all eyes on her. She scoffed, trying to laugh it off. I don't know, man. I mean, I gave you good service. And people like you, big actors, you leave crazy tips all the time, right? $500, $1,000, something like that? Bale nodded slowly, as if considering her words. Then, he leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. So let me get this straight, he said, his voice calm but sharp. You believe your value is based on what someone else gives you? Lena's smirk twitched. The question caught her off guard. She opened her mouth but hesitated. Bale tilted his head. You didn't thank me for the $20. You laughed at it, because in your mind, what I gave you wasn't enough. Not based on how you treated me, but based on how much money I have. The audience? Hooked. Some customers nodded. Others whispered. Lena crossed her arms, defensive now. It's not about me thinking I deserve something. It's just expected. Celebrities tip big. It's a thing. Bale let out a soft chuckle. Ah, I see. He gestured to the tables around him. So if a struggling single father sat here and left you the same tip, you'd be fine with it. Lena opened her mouth and stopped, because suddenly she saw the trap. She was about to say yes, but then why did she mock the tip when it came from him? She was about to say no, but that would prove she only cared about his money, not the work she did. She stiffened. Bale let the silence stretch. Then, he leaned in even closer. You expected a big tip, not because of how you treated me, but because of who I am. Oof. Lena's face burned, because deep down, she knew he was right. And then, Bale dropped the final hammer. You see, Lena, entitlement isn't about what people owe you. It's about thinking you deserve something just for showing up. Boom. The restaurant shifted. People exchanged wide-eyed glances. Even the manager at the bar took a slow sip of his drink, clearly enjoying the show. Lena, speechless. Because now, this wasn't just about money. This was about who she was, and what Bale did next left the entire room stunned. Lena stood frozen, her smirk gone, her confidence shaken. The whole restaurant was waiting to see how she'd react. Christian Bale, still calm, still in control. He wasn't just talking about a tip anymore. He was talking about mindset, about entitlement, about the way she saw the world. Lena felt the weight of it, and for the first time, she didn't have a comeback. She just stared at him, cheeks burning, heart pounding. The laughter she had thrown at him just minutes ago now felt like a mistake. You think I was born into this? You think I just woke up one day and had money in my account? Lena didn't answer, because honestly, she kind of did. Bale continued, I worked my ass off. I failed. I struggled. I had moments where I didn't know if I'd ever make it. But you know what I didn't do? Lena stayed silent. Bale's voice dropped lower. I didn't sit around laughing at what I thought I deserved. I got up and worked for it. Oof, the whole restaurant felt that one. Lena swallowed hard, because for the first time in years, she was starting to feel embarrassed, not because she got caught, but because she was realizing the truth. Then, Bale did something nobody expected. He reached into his pocket, pulled out 2 bills. One was the same $20 tip. The other, a crisp $500 bill. The restaurant gasped. Bale placed them both on the table. And then, he gave Lena a choice. Lena stared at the 2 bills on the table. One was the same $20 tip she had mocked. The other, a crisp $500 bill. The restaurant went dead silent. Customers leaned in. Even her co-workers stopped what they were doing, eyes locked on the table. Bale, still calm, still in control. He rested his hands on the table and spoke slowly. This isn't about money, Lena. It's about mindset. Lena swallowed hard. Bale gestured to the 2 bills. You can take the $20, walk away, and keep thinking the world owes you something. Keep laughing at people. Keep complaining about what you don't have, and keep blaming others for why things aren't going your way. Lena's breath hitched, because she knew. That was exactly what she had been doing her whole life. Then, Bale tapped the $500 bill. Or, you can take this, but if you do, it comes with a promise. Lena's hands tightened into fists. She felt every single pair of eyes on her. A promise, she whispered. Bale nodded. A promise that the next time you serve someone, you won't judge them by how much they tip. You won't assume who they are based on how much money they have. You'll just treat them like a person, because that's what real service is. Oof. Lena felt that, because for years, she had been walking around with a chip on her shoulder, thinking she was owed something, thinking life was unfair. But now, she had a choice. Take the $20 and stay the same, or take the $500 and change. The room held its breath, and then Lena did something that made the entire restaurant gasp. Lena stared at the 2 bills. Her hands shook. Her mind raced. She could feel every eye in the restaurant locked on her. The weight of the moment, crushing. The old her wanted to grab the $500, pocket it, and move on. But something stopped her. Because deep down, she knew. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about who she was. And for the first time in years, she didn't like the answer. Her throat felt tight. She thought about how she treated people, how she walked through life expecting something for nothing, how she laughed at a man who showed her nothing but respect. And suddenly, the $500 felt heavy. She reached out, but not for the bigger bill. She grabbed the $20. The restaurant gasped. Even Bale raised an eyebrow. Lena clutched the bill in her fist, took a shaky breath, and looked him in the eye. I don't deserve the $500, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The entire restaurant froze. Bale, for the first time in the entire conversation, looked surprised. Lena swallowed hard. But I do want to change. The words hit the room like a shockwave. Bale leaned back, studying her. Then he smiled, not a smirk, not a smug, I won smile, a real, genuine, proud smile. He nodded slowly. Good. Then he did something that left everyone speechless. He slid the $500 bill toward her anyway. Lena's eyes widened. I can't take that, she stammered. Bale chuckled softly. You're not taking it. You're earning it. The entire restaurant erupted in applause. Because at that moment, Lena wasn't the same person who had laughed at the tip just minutes ago. She was someone willing to grow. And Christian Bale didn't just leave her a tip. He left her with a lesson she'd never forget. The applause slowly faded, but the weight of the moment remained. Lena sat there staring at the $500 bill. It wasn't just money anymore. It was proof that she had changed. The old her would have taken it without thinking twice. But now, she understood something bigger. It wasn't about what she thought she deserved. It was about who she wanted to be. She looked up at Bale, still in shock. I don't know what to say. Bale smiled, standing up to leave. Then don't say anything. Just prove it. Lena swallowed hard, because she knew this wasn't just a one-time lesson. This was her wake-up call. She watched as Bale nodded to the manager, left his check, and walked out of the restaurant. No cameras, no drama. Just a man who had walked in for a quiet meal and walked out having changed someone's life. Christian Bale was gone, but the lesson? It stayed with her. She sat there for a long time, staring at the $500 bill. Not because of the money, but because of what it meant. Her coworker Mark finally walked over, still in shock. Dude, what just happened? Lena let out a shaky breath. I think I just got humbled, Mark snorted. Yeah, and in the most badass way possible. Lena let out a small laugh, because honestly, he was right. She had walked into that night thinking she was the smartest person in the room. She had been bitter, sarcastic, ready to mock the world before it mocked her. But now, she saw things differently. And the best part? She had a chance to change. The next day, she showed up to work early. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She greeted every customer with a smile. Not because she was faking it, but because she finally understood something. Respect isn't given, it's earned. And months later, she got an even bigger surprise. Because one day while she was clearing a table, her manager walked up holding an envelope. Lena frowned. What's that? Her manager handed it over. Someone left it for you, no name. Just said it was for the girl who learned her lesson. Lena's heart stopped. She opened the envelope. Inside, a letter, and what she read left her in tears. Lena's hands shook as she unfolded the letter. The restaurant buzzed around her, but in that moment, everything else faded. She took a deep breath and began to read. Lena, a few months ago, you laughed at a tip. But more importantly, you learned from it. Not everyone gets a second chance to change their mindset. You did. And from what I've heard, you took it seriously. That matters more than any tip ever could. Consider this a reminder. Keep going, keep growing, and never let your past define you. A friend. Lena clutched the letter to her chest. She knew exactly who it was from. Christian Bale. No name, no signature, just a quiet, final lesson. And then she noticed something else in the envelope. A check. Her breath hitched. She pulled it out, eyes going wide. It wasn't $500 this time. It was $5,000. Her vision blurred with tears. Because in that moment, she realized something. The money wasn't a reward. It was a challenge, a test, a way of saying, what will you do with this? And this time, she wouldn't waste it. She folded the letter carefully, wiped her eyes, and made a decision. She was going to do something meaningful with this, not just for herself, but for others. Because this time, she understood. It was never about the money. It was about the person you become. And as she tucked the letter away, she whispered to herself, I won't forget this. And she never did.